welcome. My name's Jeff Eggleston. I'm basically chairing the group. I work for IBM. I'm in the hardware division, and we're very excited to hear Sebastian from Virtel's his presentation today. It's about creating a modern web user interface from legacy 370 screens with the Virtel Screen Redesigner. The one thing I would ask is, if you're going to ask questions, can we save them to the end? It would be helpful if we could put them in the chat. If we can do that, that'll be fantastic. So what I'm now going to do is hand it over to Sebastian. The floor's yours, Sebastian.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Jeff, for the introduction. So let me get back to my slideshow. Okay, yes, so maybe I just introduce myself first. So my name's Seb Dewar. I work for a company which is based in France called Virtel. I've been working as a system programmer on ZOS and OS 390 platforms since, what would it be, 1997? So that's like 25 years, I guess. Yeah, I'm going to be talking today about a different approach on modernizing 3270 screens with a product that we publish, which is called Virtel Screen Redesigner. So before I start, I just wanted to give you a quick disclaimer, because even though this is about modernizing 3270 screens, as a system programmer, I definitely prefer to use 3270 green screens, and I know there are a lot of people out there who prefer the 3270 screens rather than having web pages to work with. But obviously, what we're talking about here is making the mainframe more attractive, and so I like to refer to the 3270 as something which is a bit like a famous British product which you either like or hate. And definitely 3270, I love them, but managers, or top managers at least, that's the first thing they see when they see a mainframe. They think of COBOL, they think of the green screens, and they say, I don't want that, I want to get rid of that. So over the last 25 years that I've been working on mainframes, I've been seeing lots of different projects to get rid of these green screens. So I've been hearing about re-platforming, re-engineering, redeveloping, re-this, re-that. Always complex projects. Some manage to get done and some don't. What we're looking at here is maybe something a bit easier, which is not actually changing anything to the 3270 applications, but providing something that you can front end the 3270 screens with, to give a web interface for the 3270 applications, but at the same time allowing other users to keep their 3270 interface. Like me, they prefer the 3270 interface. But I mean, this is going to remind you of things that happened 20 years ago as well, probably, if you're in the same business as I was. And I heard about screen scraping, and in France they call it revamping, which is basically having a Java applet on your desktop that comes on top of your 3270 emulator and does a quick and dirty modernization job on the screens. But it's always been pretty ugly and not very useful, because it wasn't a proper web application, and it actually slows users down rather than gaining productivity. So I think a lot of people went down that road years ago and then came back because it wasn't what they were looking for. Now in 2024, we have a software product called Virtel Screen Redesigner that does front-ending in a different way, which means that the 3270 screens can definitely be shown in a way that doesn't look like a 3270 screen anymore. Obviously, you still have your function keys, you still have all things that come from the mainframe, and obviously someone who looks at it closely will see that it's a 3270 screen or a mainframe application. But the idea is to provide a web interface to keep managers happy and without it being too costly a project. So I'll talk about Virtel. I'm going to do a demo afterwards of how all this works. But I guess a lot of people around the table probably haven't heard of Virtel before. As I was saying, I'm based in France. And so the Virtel is a product that's been around at least in France for over 30 years now. It was originally a network protocol converter for mainframe platforms. Today, Virtel comes in 4 different. Hang on, I'll use my pointer. There we are. There are four different components within Virtel. There's Virtel Web Access, which is a 3270 emulator in a web browser. Virtel Screen Redesigner, which is what I'm going to be talking about today, which is the front-ending part of the 3270 emulator to have a proper web interface. Virtel Web Integration, which is 3270 API exposure, so it's similar to ZOS Connect, but for 3270 applications. And Virtel SSO, which is the ability to interface your 3270 applications with single sign-on platforms outside of the mainframe. So before I explain how Virtel works, it's always useful to come back to basics and 3270 protocol. I don't know if everyone's familiar with the 3270 protocol, but I mean, here I'm not actually showing the old 3270 physical terminals because no one uses those anymore. But definitely since the 90s, most people have been using 3270 emulators that we call thick clients, as opposed to thin clients, which are web-based. So basically, with a 3270 thick client, you have a software product that you install on your Windows desktop or Linux or whatever you use. And this thick client connects in TCP/IP to the TN3270 server, Telnet 3270 server on your ZOS system, and uses what's called the Telnet 3270 network protocol to actually reach this server. This TN3270 server then interfaces via VTAM directly into the 3270 applications that run on the mainframe. So that's been around for a while. What we've been seeing in more recent years is thin client in a 3-tier configuration where you have a server somewhere in between the web browser and your ZOS system. This server could be outside of the mainframe, or it could be on a Z Linux. But basically, the web browsers connect in HTTPS to this tier server, and this tier server does the conversion between the HTTPS and the Telnet 3270, and you're going straight in to the TN3270 server, as in the first top part of the diagram here, and then going into your applications. With Virtel, it's a bit of a mix of the two, where you have your web browser. Instead of connecting to an external server, it connects to a web server that's actually running within the Virtel started task. So Virtel runs as a started task on your ZOS. The web browser connects, so the user's web browser connects to the Virtel started task in HTTPS. And then Virtel actually bypasses the TN3270 server because Virtel is directly connected via VTAM to the 3270 applications, KIX, TSO, IMS, etc. So basically, it's a two-tier thin client configuration. Now, in more detail, and this is important because it's going to introduce how VSR works for front-ending these 3270 applications. So the web browser connects in HTTPS to the web server, which is a component of the Virtel started task. In the middle here, we have the historical conversion engine of Virtel, which has been around for more than 30 years. And this conversion engine converts the HTML incoming data to SNA and 3270 dialog to exchange with the 3270 applications on the back end of the ZOS server. And back again, of course. So when the response comes, it's converted back to HTTP to be sent back to the web browser. And it's all displayed here without any Java. It's basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, what's important here, and I'm going to refer to that in the next slide, is that Virtel Web Access comes with a set of basic templates which define how your 3270 data is going to be displayed in the web browser. So the basic standard set of templates that come out of the box with Virtel are your basic green screen templates. And so Virtel receives the 3270 data flow, puts it into an HTML template and sends this template to the web browser, and the data gets displayed in the web browser in a classic 3270 green screen display. And this is where VSR comes in the front, all the front ending. Basically, what we're going to be doing with VSR is we're going to be building a different set of templates to change the way that Virtel displays the 3270 screen in the web browser. So how does this work? So VSR, Virtel Screen Redesigner, is a tool that you install on your desktop outside of the mainframe. And it's a tool that's going to be used by the people who are going to be modernizing the screens. Now you'll see in the demo, it's a tool that's very easy to use. So you don't need to be a web developer to build these templates. You need to basically know how the application works, how people use the application, what they need to see on the screen, what they need to see on the web browser screen. And so how's it going to work? What we do is we capture the 3270 data flow for one screen and inject it into the Screen Redesigner tool. So all the fields will be displayed within the Screen Redesigner tool. And then using a drag and drop feature, you can basically take any field from your 3270 screen and put it where you want it to go on the final HTML screen. And then you format, you choose your font, your colors, center, left, right, all the standard formatting options. And then you can apply some specific widgets to change the way some fields are displayed. For example, if you have a date field, you can choose to display it as a calendar. Checkboxes are all your standard web tools that you would be used to finding on a web page. Once you're happy with the result, you upload the template to Virtel, and then you have to tell Virtel that this template has to be used for this screen. So what Virtel will do, Virtel will analyze the screen and see if there's a screen code that Virtel can use to associate a screen with a template. So that's something that needs to be done. And once that's done, on the fly, Virtel will pick the new template to display your 3270 screen in the web browser. So in effect, you can actually modernize a small set of screens to start with. And so basically you would have a sub application that would be modernized, and the rest of the application would be in your standard 3270 format. You just have to tell Virtel, we'll use the modernized templates for the 10 screens that I've modernized, and then use the basic templates for all the other ones. So that's pretty much how it works. So as I was saying, the population that we aim this product at is more your mainframe developers rather than web developers, because it's all drag and drop, pretty easy to use. You need to understand the application and how it works and how users would expect to use it. No need for web skills. Obviously, if you bring on a web developer, it's always interesting to have their take on user experience, on what colors to use to put things into perspective. But the bottom line is you don't need web skills to modernize a screen. You can develop screen by screen and not actually deploy a fully modernized application in one go, but just like, say, 10 screens or 20 screens to start with. And coming back to what I said at the beginning, some people prefer the original 3270 application and others will prefer the modernized version. So depending on the URL that they enter, they will be connected to the modernized version or to the 3270 version. So the user gets to choose which version of the application they will use to work with every day. And of course, it all runs on the mainframe because Virtel is on the mainframe, and it's all controlled by started tasks that runs on the mainframe. Okay, so that's the end of my slides. I think the best thing really is to carry on with a demo. See, there's one question in the chat. Jeff, do you think it's time to answer the questions now regarding the slides that I put before doing the demo?
The question, I do apologize, was me thanking everybody to join, and if they had any questions, to put it at the end.
Okay.
So
okay, that's fine.
At the moment, there's no questions from our audience, but you know what, guys, if you've got any questions, you can have it now. I'll give it a minute, and I'll unmute you if you like. So unless I see some hands go up or something in the chat. So while you're getting the demo organized, I'll just keep a lookout.
Okay. Okay, so.
Okay, I'm going to assume nobody's got any questions, so I'm going to come off. I'm going to go mute myself and let you carry on with your demo.
Okay, so this is the Virtel Screen Redesigner tool that I've just brought up. So, I mean, when I first open it up, I get a list of projects that I can work on. Okay, I've only got one project in my workspace, and that's the one I'm going to be using. And in a project, you have a list of templates, which we call screen cases here as well. So here in my project, I have 4 screen cases, which will produce 4 templates to modernize some screens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example of a demo application that we have. So I actually, to make the demo faster here, I've created some scripts to directly reach the application and the Kix screen. This is a Kix application that we built just for demos. It's called Voyage. It's a mock travel agency demo running on Kix. And so basically it's just 2 screens. So it's not a rocket science application or anything. So where's my cursor here? There it is. Okay. So basically on this screen, I can choose a specific trip and then press PF8 to get to the second screen where I enter the customer information. If I just press PF8 now, it's going to say that can't work because I haven't selected a journey, and the journey name required is there are some specific codes that I need to know. Obviously, when you're working on this every day, you know the code, but if you don't, you just have to try something. I'll try the first one, CI1. There you go. CI1 takes me from Paris to Miami and back, and it's product code CI1. It's USA combined stay Miami Orlando. If I try CI2, okay, that's another one to LA. Now you can see here there's some fields, some date fields here. European format, 25th of April. There's some other fields where I can select cancellation insurance. No here. Passport, vaccination. So yes and no fields. I'm pointing these out because basically when we modernize these, we're going to want to replace this by a calendar widget. The yes and no field can be replaced with a checkbox, for example. There's PF keys that you can replace with buttons. So I have PF3, PF8. Okay, from here, I'll just press PF8 to reach the next screen. Okay, so the next screen gives me a summary of what I chose on the previous screen. And then here I have to enter my details, the customer details. Not in the right field there. Okay. Okay. If I press enter, validation OK, case validated for this customer. And I can actually hear PF7 back to the previous screen just to make sure everything's OK. PF8 forward, it's been saved. And PF3, transaction ended. I'm back into the Kix world, and that's it. Okay, so I'll close this. And I'll show you what the modernized version of this screen. So I've prepared a modernized version of part of the application just to show you. So this is the button that I would use to display. Oh, hang on, it's opened it in the other window. Hang on. There we go. Okay, so this opens the modernized version of the application, and then I'll show you how it was done. I get a landing page to start with. This is all customizable, but basically a landing page with a button, and it asks me for my user and password. I've just got basic browser security on this, which is can be also changed, and I'm going to enter my RACF credentials here. All right, I still have 8-character password, but that also can be changed. Okay, so this is the modernized version of the first screen that I was showing you just then. So you can see that, for example, the cancellation insurance, here is a checkbox field. There's calendar fields for the dates. So I'm in France, so my browser is French, which is why all these show up in French. But obviously, if I was in if I had an English language browser, all this would show up in English as well. I have a button here which actually sends the PF8 key to the application. So if I click on here, I get the error message that you saw on the 3270 screen saying that I need to enter the journey name. Now this has been put into this field here, and we've actually changed the codes into the proper journey names. So this is a drop-down list, so I can actually here choose combine stay and validate. Okay, so that's validated. And now if I press enter client information, I'm going to be sent to the next screen. Okay, so this second screen has not been modernized, so it just shows up as with the unmodernized template. This is a template that can also be modernized, and that's something I can talk about later. But basically, just to prove to you that I'm in the Kix application, if I do PF7 here, I go back to the previous screen, which is modernized. And so Virtel detects that it's a modernized template and shows the modernized screen. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and modernize this second screen to show you pretty much how it all works. So I'm going to actually, I'll close my browser. Okay, so before I modernize the second screen, I'll show you what the first screen looks in the VSR application. So basically, VSR, the tool is divided into three parts. You have a part on the left here, which is all your 3270 fields that were imported from the screen. So, and with all the coordinates, row, column, and length. So this is all imported from the 3270 data flow. You can also import it from BMS maps if you do have the maps. I use the 3270 flow, and that works with pretty much any application. It works with TSO, it works with Natural. Okay, in the middle, you have the proper workbench where you build the template. So here you see all the fields that have been dragged from here and formatted to make them look like they do on the final screen. You see that some of these fields have a little blue rectangle around them. That means that there's been a widget applied to the field. So for example, if I click on here, you see on the right, it says there's a widget, a checkbox widget, which is basically a yes and no widget that sends Y and N to the application if the checkbox is checked or not. The calendar, there's another widget, date picker here. There are different models available. This is a French calendar. Maybe why it was showing up in French, actually, now that I come to think of it. You have buttons, and you have the drop-down list as well, which is basically a static list that was imported into the application. Okay, and on the right-hand side, so I showed you the widgets part, but the main part of the right-hand panel is all the formatting options, where basically you take a field and you say how you want it to be formatted. You can choose your fonts, your colors, and plenty of display options here to say how you want the field to be displayed, the width, the border radius, if you want the border to be rounded or square. All the basic 3270 web formatting functions are available from here. And you can also here choose to, actually that doesn't work here, but if I pick a field here, basically it tells you the row and column address of that field and the length. So if you only want to show, for example, 2 characters from a field rather than 3, you can actually change the length here. Or if you want to show more, you can also make that longer. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back here and create a new modernization project, screen case rather, for the second screen, which wasn't modernized. So to do that, I first open a terminal session. So this opens a 3270 Virtel session with the application. And what I do is I need to reach the screen that I want to modernize. So to reach the screen, I need to enter a product code, let's say CR1, for example, PF8. Okay, so this is the screen that I want to modernize. So what I do here is I go into the screen case menu, top left, and I choose Create Screen Case. So hang on that. What's happened? Oh yeah, where's my? Oh, hang on, I need to close my PowerPoint here because it's full screen. Oh, there we go. Oh, I know why. Hang on, it's because it's on the other screen. Oh, here we go. it was asking me to choose a screen case name. So I'm going to call it demo M2 set, for example. Okay, so I create that and I go back here. So it's created a new screen case here called demo M2 set. I can open this and you'll see that I have an empty canvas in the middle with all my 3270 fields here on the left. So I could obviously start by bringing lots of fields in here, mess around, and I can format them if I want, change the font size, make it big. Okay, that would be a way of doing it, but obviously that's going to take a lot of time. So I'm not going to do it that way. What I'm going to do is delete this and delete that as well. Is I'm going to, what I can do is I can import some elements that I've already prepared for the previous screen. For example, if I import this one, which is called top, which is, as its name says, it's a top element. So with the time, the date, and the name of the screen. Okay, so that gives me an element that I can use at the top. And I can also import another one with the PF keys that I'm going to be using at the bottom of the screen. So then all I need to do is to fill in the middle part of the screen to modernize my screen. So I can actually already preview this to see how it looks with the screen that's opened, with this screen that I opened here. So basically, this preview button, what it's going to do, it's going to take the elements on the current screen in my terminal emulator and try to display them in the web browser to see how it looks. Okay, so there it's opened what I just did in my web browser. So the top part here is a header which can be customized. The bottom part is a footer that can be customized. And in the middle here, you have the elements that I just prepared. So you see that the fields have actually been updated here with the elements that were found on the, on this screen here. So the time was taken, actually it's been updated. it actually updated the screen directly with Virtel. So it's actually more up to date than the version that I have here. If I press enter here. And the PF keys here, if I click on the PF keys, it's not actually going to do anything. It's just going to tell me this is the test mode, and this PF key actually sends PF7 to the application. Okay, so I'll close that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some fields to drag and drop my elements from the left-hand side here. So what I can do to start with is, it's always a good idea to put, there we go, a box here that I'm going to make a bit bigger because that's a bit small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this at a width of 10/12 of the screen. So there you go. Oh, so why did I choose 10/12? It's because the top one was already in 10/12. So I make it the same width here as the top one. And I'm going to change the color of this. I'm going to make it, let's say, light gray, for example. And I'm going to maybe drag a few things into here. So what could I drag? The case number. There we go, case number. And I can put the product code. That's always interesting. Actually, maybe I should have. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to drag that to the wrong place here. There, and I'll put these into this box here. There you go, and I'll make another. So it's all these formatting options are important to make sure that elements are placed in the correct position. So here I have the product code, and I guess what I can have is the amount, total amount. Actually, it says total amount here, but it's abbreviated. So what I can actually do here is I'll delete that, and I'll put some proper editable content into the field, and I'll type here total amount. There we go. And the total amount is here. So there, I'll move that here. And why is that underneath? I guess I need to make this, there we go, flex so that they're on the same line. And what I can do here is I can align these with space between, so that they get spread out over the area. So I have my product code in the middle, the case number on the left, and total amount on the right here. And I can preview that to see what it looks like. There we go. So that's what it looks like in the modernized screen. I'm still in preview mode, so obviously if I click on a button, nothing happens. So what we can do now, just looking at the time, if I have time to do just one more thing, maybe if I add another box underneath here, and I'll make that 10/12 as well, and I'll put that in the same color, background color. Here we go, light gray, just to show how I won't put all the fields into it, but I'll just put the name field with the input. Okay, so I'll save and upload that. And now I'm going to go back to my main menu to tell Virtel that I want to use this screen case, this template, for the screen that contains demo M2. So to do that, we have a little table here where I say, if in row 1, column 2, you find the code demo M1, you use the screen case V1 demo M1. So I'm going to add a line here, and I'm going to say, if in row 1, column 2, you find demo M2, you use the one that I just created here. I save that. So this is actually getting uploaded to the mainframe to Virtel. There you go. So it tells me that it was successfully uploaded. And theoretically, if I go to the modernized application now, okay, so here I get back onto my landing page and I enter my credentials. I close the browser. Okay, so I get the first screen, and I'm going to choose one to Kenya, for example. And I'm going to choose maybe with cancellation insurance and enter client information. There you go. I have my modernized screen here with the top banner that I had, the couple of areas that I created with the case number, the code, and the description, the amount, and my name field that I can enter data into. From here, I can go to previous, and it will come back to the previous screen because I'm actually connected to the 3270 application. And if I go back to enter client information, it's back here. Okay. That's pretty much how it works. So if I go back to this application, maybe I can show you, because obviously the question from here is, how long does it take to modernize a large application? And so yeah, we have an experience with a customer in Europe that's an insurance broker, and they had 1,200 screens to modernize, and using this tool, and they modernized the 1,200 screens in about 5 or 6 months, and it was a team of 3 people. So that gives you an idea of how long it takes to do the job. Obviously, if you have less screens, it's quicker. And I can actually show you, I have a demo version of what they did. So this is here. So maybe I'll just show you what the application looks like in the non-modernized version. So this is a Kix application with a menu, and I don't actually have their application running on my Kix. So this is a trace that I'm running. So I can't actually go forwards and backwards in the trace, and I just press enter to go from one screen to the other, but you get the general idea. So they have a menu, and then they choose, they have a search panel where they say, I want to look for a customer whose name contains or begins with, so they enter some data here and press enter. It gives them a list of customers, so I guess they must have chosen all the ones that had 75 in this field. And then I think they choose B from what I recall and press enter, and that opens the customer details. And then they just press enter and it goes down through all the pages, page 2. This is the 3rd page. And obviously lots of information here. So they had a lot of work to display this information in a way that looks good from a user point of view. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'll just zap to the end of the trace. There we go. And so if I come back here and show you what the modernized version of this looks like. So they have a landing page. And this is what the modernized menu looks like. So menu is a widget as well, which makes the menu entries clickable. So you don't actually have to enter the choice here. It would also work if you entered the choice here, 11, for example. But if I click on here, it chooses 11 and moves on to the next page. And this was the client list. So they basically here, this is where they entered 75 and pressed enter, or they have the enter button here. So clicking on the enter button, that sends the enter. They get a list that gets displayed here with a menu widget here to select an entry in this list. So they chose entry B. So I just have to click here. And then you get the page with the customer details, and you either press enter on this screen or click on next. They have this nice little area on the right, which is common to all their screens, which can allow users to press PF keys, but the proper PF keys also work. So if I press PF8 on my keyboard, I'm also going to go to the next screen. And that's pretty much it. So I think they did a really good job. Carrying on, and I'm looking at the time. How are we for time, Jeff?
We're doing well. We're on 15:15. We finish on 30:30. So
okay.
Yeah,
Well, I think
well.
I've shown pretty much everything I wanted to show. What I'll do is I'll leave the floor open for any questions that people may have.
Okay. If I'm allowed to ask questions.
Yeah, sure.
I've got to say 32 70. Yeah, that's what I prefer as well. So you struck a chord on your presentation, and I also note on your demonstration it is definitely live, because I was taking note. I noted your time as well. But one thing that really came over very loud and clear was you put all this together sort of within half an hour of this presentation. The demonstration on that. And you kind of alluded to 1200 screens.
Yeah.
The first question I have, is there any way of automating that?
Well, there are lots of ways to increase productivity, I would say.
Right.
The first thing that they found out is that they had lots of menu screens that looked alike, were very similar, and they could actually use the same template for more than one screen. So that was the first thing that increased the productivity. And then they did a lot of importing bits of screens and just having the bits in the middle that they had to change. So after a while, they had lots of templates of the top part, of the right-hand side, the middle part, and they would just have to change a few things to modernize another screen. So that was making it faster. So it's not actually automating, I grant you that, but it definitely makes it easier to work that way.
Okay, so that's it. And this is my last question. So, I mean, if somebody in the audience wanted to follow up, typically, how long would it take to sort of load everything up and get to a stage where what you've done on your demo to actually do something? And what sort of help would you guys do? Sorry, not do, provide so that they can do it? How does that work?
Okay, so obviously there are different components. If I go back to this screen, first thing you need to do obviously is install the Virtel started task. That's if for a system programmer, it would take about 2 hours to get you up and running and connected to an application. So that's pretty fast. Then you need to install the Screen Redesigner component on your desktop and configure it to connect to the Virtel the way it's been configured. So that's pretty fast to do as well. And then from then on, you're up and running. So, but that comes to the second part of the question. Obviously, you're up and running, but you don't know how to use the product. So how would we help? What I found the best way to work with people who would like to use VSR is that we ask them, because with Virtel, we can capture a trace, the 3270 trace that we inject into Virtel Screen Redesigner. We actually ask them to capture that trace for like 4 or 5 screens, send it to us, and we do a demo project based on those 4 or 5 screens, and that would send it back to you, and it works in your environment. And from then on, you can build from those templates to build more templates, and it gives you something to work with rather than start from a blank page. And I think that's the best way to go.
Okay, thank you. And if you could put your screen up again about your contacts, you've got your your email there, and that's the best way to get a hold of you, Sebastian, if they want to follow it through.
Definitely, yeah.
I don't have any more questions. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds. If anybody's got any other questions. I think that's a no. So I would like to thank everybody attending this session. We had it up to, I think it was 10 participants at one stage. I think it's down to about 8 now. So thank you very much for attending. The session code for this is AP. That session code is very important because it allows you guys to put some feedback in, which we would encourage. And Guide Share actually thrives on the feedback because it actually determines what presentations we do in the future. So I can't emphasize enough, please, can you actually leave some feedback? And to actually get at feedback, the easiest way is where you've got build your own agenda. If you go on to this session and just click where it says give feedback here, that's the quickest way to give feedback. Otherwise, you can do the scan of the code there or go to the web page. So I'm just going to give it one last chance. Anybody got anything else to say? I take it a no. So I'm going to bring this to a conclusion. I'm going to do my best French for you, Sebastian, which is au revoir, merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Thanks, Jeff.
Cheers.